Welcome to Come and See, your podcast for finding truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. With host and founder Richard Case and co-host and retreat leader Kathy Ricconi. Join us every weekday at this time to discuss news, spend time in the Word, and receive answers to your personal questions about living life in God's truth. And now your host, Richard Case.
Well, good morning, Kathy. Here we go. This is Wednesday, first week of November, and we are finishing our series on discerning God's will.
This has been a phenomenal series. I think all of us have learned a lot. Even just you and I going back through and talking through reinforces things to us, right?
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Kathy and I can relate to, discerning God's will. It's born out of a firm belief that God's will is best and none better. Why would I not follow that? And it's going to deliver to me the covenant. I'm going to bless you to make you a blessing. I'm going to resolve all your issues. I am going to give you life and give it to you super abundantly. And so that's the understanding. And the more you do it, the more you say, I got it. I see it.
Right.
And as you look at that, the question that all of us have on everything in life is, well, now what's next? Or what would you say next? Or how would you move me next into your will? So you and I, as we're finishing this series, we're processing we have lots of topics. So don't worry, we got years and years and years of stuff that we're going to be able to enjoy together, and we'll have more later. But it's always, okay, Father, what would you have us do next? And we're starting to get some ideas and thoughts, and then you said, my daughter has a question. And you raise up this issue of anxiety and fear. Not that she's got it, but she's got friends, and you've seen friends that are severely anxious. And we know, because of our discussion on the end times, that there's a lot of fear out there.
Right.
And a lot of anxiety, heaviness, what we call heaviness. And that can be oppression, semi-depression, even depression, just sadness. So you said, well, my daughter has a question. Maybe we could do a couple sessions on that.
Right.
So what do you think about that? And we were already talking about overcoming adversity and something that we'll get into. And I said, well, Kathy, guess what? Over the last 6 months ago, God said, I want you to go abide. And the question of how do you overcome fear and anxiety?
Which, how perfect is that? I was just saying, God has such a great sense of humor. I love how he does that. Of course, he had you sitting in that spot, because I think this is such a real question for people right now. And especially with COVID, they're feeling it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, when I abide in something like that, and I've had to learn this as I learn God's will about all things, but my bent and the way that I always have thought is what I call linearly, is put some information together, and then because of my desire, it's what I call let's get to the punchline. Let's get to okay, I see, I got it. I'm going to go this way. I got the answer. And that's how I've always thought, operated, and because of my what God gave me gifted wise in terms of the mind, is I was good at that.
Right.
Well, when I'm learning to abide, I tried to do that same thing. Okay, I'll read a couple verses, a couple chapters. Okay, all right, got it. Understand it. Great, fantastic. Let's go. And God kept telling me, it doesn't work that way. And Rich,
you're not done yet.
you're going to have to let me show you a new way that is complete. Interesting enough, it's complete opposite of everything you've learned. I'm not going to abandon your ability to receive and understand, but I'm going to do it a different way. Okay. So I start learning this, and the picture I got, and I think I've described this before, is he says, I'm putting together a jigsaw puzzle. And there's going to be pieces that I'm going to give you, and you'll see it kind of fits up there, but all you can do is I got it, I receive it, I see it, and you put it up there, but you haven't put the puzzle together yet. You can't.
Right.
He says, I'll connect the dots when I get the pieces together. Enjoy receiving the pieces, and don't ask me, and don't get frustrated, which is interesting part of the answer.
Yeah, because you don't like puzzles.
No, and I don't, and I don't like puzzles because it takes too doggone long, and hey, I want it to come together quick, and so he says, and interesting that part of the answer of, as we're going to answer over here in the next months about fear and anxiety, is, do you trust me of what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And I had to learn that, and so when I'm abiding like I've been in this material and it's been a joy. It's been, well, do you see this? And do you see this? And how does that? He said, I'll connect the dot. Don't worry. Just relax. And so just this last week, God said, you're finished with the pieces. You've received all the pieces I want to give you. Okay. And then at this point is always when now help me put them together so that I get it. And it's born out of, by the way, and you said your daughter and you are going to help me with this, is it's always born out of real questions.
Right.
Well, even when we looked at God's will, the question is that people kept asking me was, does God really have a will?
Right.
Is it really personal? Can he really communicate that to me? Or isn't it generic? Or isn't it just logos? Or don't I just have to do the best job I can? Does he really care about all that stuff? Those are the questions.
Real questions.
Those are the real questions that God said, well, let me answer those questions. So you and your daughter are going to set up the premise with the questions, and then the dot connecting will come through that. So I'm gonna share with everybody right now that I've got the material. It's all in journals. I've received an amazing revelation of truth of the answer to this.
Beautiful.
How it's going to be fully expressed is we're actually going to do this together, everybody. It's not fully there yet, but we're going to start it, because I have this. I have the beginning pieces of it. So well, let's just start it, and together learn. Well, God, what do you have to say about this? Because God said, my will, and this is what you and I get excited about. Well, the question is always, what's next? And it's about everything, not just this, but everything. And God says, well, this is what's next. Okay. Let's go there. This ought to be fun.
Right. This will be fun.
This ought to be fun. We'll see how that goes. So that'll be our next topic, and we'll pick it up next week, start next week, of how do we overcome heaviness, fear, and anxiety in a world that's full of heaviness, fear, and anxiety.
And that has got increasingly worse in that over the last year.
And really good reasons for that. So as we summarize this and finalize this Discerning God's Will, we left off yesterday with the ask, seek, and knock. And Kathy, you were kind of introducing what happened to you guys in terms of where were you in the process. So maybe you want to, just share again, so everybody catches up on here's what we processed yesterday.
Yeah, a little recap. So, I've shared with everyone on here before. My daughter Anna is a senior, and so we have been in the process over, really through the end of junior year, even narrowing in and asking God what His will for her is for school next year and where that would be, and going on various tours and narrowing things out and all of that. And it's been beautiful just to watch him really every time we've stepped foot on a campus with clarity say, leave this one in the bucket, take this one out. And as he has just led, that's been beautiful to see. And we continue asking and seeking, and then keeping journals, notes of things that he has spoken over places. And as we have gone through this process, he has narrowed us down to Emmanuel and Gordon. Both are in the Boston area. One is in right near Fenway Park, and the other is in like the Beverly Wyndham area. So about a half hour outside of the city. Beautiful area as well, and where my son Caleb is at. So those are the two that he has narrowed in on, and has continued to this point to really give a great deal of confirmation that Emmanuel is most likely where she is to be, or that's where we feel like what he's saying. And as we talked about yesterday, you really fleshed that out, because Anna had the question of, if this is what I'm feeling like he really is confirming Emmanuel, then am I acting out of faith if I even apply to Gordon? Should I not be putting that application in? And you so clearly laid that out yesterday that, we're not to the knock part yet.
Right,
and he has said Gordon and Emmanuel, and to knock on those doors, and that we're not through that process yet. And sometimes we can short circuit that process and stop before we get to the knocking and take over on our own. And so we want to be careful to stay in that process of ask, seek, and knock.
Right.
And so that is where we're at right now. We are coming on, this week, November 1st is the deadline for Emmanuel's application. So she submitted it last night, and now she needs to wrap up the Gordon one. That application deadline for early action, I believe, is November 15th. So we're coming up on that. And then, that's our knocking opportunity, but he is continuing to speak life into those and show us what he has. And it's been a beautiful process.
Yeah. And so we stay in process persistently until we understand God's will. And it's ask for my will, seek it as if it's lost treasure. Do your part of searching and researching and receiving. And then knock when there's something specific, and see if I open the door. Don't knock the door down.
Right.
And so in a practical way, just so help everybody, how do I really do this is our recommendation, and what Linda and I do is we have all of our what we call unresolved issues. Things that are either their adversity, their issues that we're dealing with in business, ministry, questions, family, things that are on our heart, but they're not resolved to a conclusion that it's now known God's will. So what we do is we list them all on a separate piece of paper.
Right.
We have a journal called God's Will Journal, and we keep that together. So it's not her journal and my journal in this case, because we do that for abiding. I have my abiding journal. She's got her abiding journal, but this is our journal of things that.
And we stole this idea from you when you presented it at the beginning. In this, I'm like, oh, we need to do that because we had everything very separate, and so then you don't see all of it connecting the dots as you do in the one place. And so, if it's encouraging to anyone, we're learning to do that as a family, to take it and put it in this other journal with the questions, and we have a page designated to the questions.
Right. And so you write down the issue, and you just, here's the question, here's the issue, here's the adversity, and you write it down. And then you go into, and we do this, Father, and this is where we don't do it generically. Well, I hope you solve them all.
Right.
No, it's take each one, and we, Father, we are seeking your will. We want your answer. We're surrendering our will to your will. What do we understand at the moment? And so we start with, on that page, we write down, well, what do we know at the moment? And hey, Linda, what do you know about this? Here's what I know about this. And we starting to relate some information that, well, we already know this about it. By the way, we don't make it up, and if we don't know it, we don't say we know it.
Right.
It's like,
right. That's important.
Yeah. Well, we don't really know that yet. So we start with, okay, how would you describe this? And we put it down, and where are we? And then we go into the seeking mode of what do you have to say about this? And remember, it'll be what I say at two levels. One is that God, most of the time, gives you a promise, like he's given to your daughter. Well, I'm going to lead you to your place in school. I will lead you to your place in school. Okay, that's a promise. And she can grab hold of that, and you as a family can, what word is that? What can you pray? Yes, we know that you will be led to a school.
Yes.
And you said there's some financial considerations, and all those would have to be worked out. He didn't say, I'll lead you to school if.
Right.
He just said, I'll lead you to a school. Don't worry, I'll resolve all the issues. Okay. Now you have a confidence. Okay, I'm on the right path. By the way, he could have said, hey, honey, and this I have lots of high school or parents with high schoolers. They're seeking, God, what do you have to say about this? I'm searching for the school, and God says, my will is for them not to go to school right now. I want them to take a break. I want them to go this way. I want them to go and learn something or have a different path.
Gap year or all kinds of different things.
Hey, I have a different path. No, it's not college. It's trade school. Hey, it's not this. It's that. It's always what do you have to say. So, but in this case, he said, yeah, I'm heading you to a school. Okay, that's a promise. But now your question is really simple. Okay, which one?
Right.
And see, we could say, when you're looking at God's will, okay, I know he's going to lead us to a school, so it's up to us to analyze it and decide what we're supposed to do, and isn't that a good thing? And I'm sure that'll be God's will, and we'll ask God to bless our choice. And God says you got it all backwards.
Right.
When you ask the question, which one? He says, I already know which one. The day you ask it, I already know the answer. God says, I already know the answer. You have a heart to go with me and discover it. Now, by the way, as you know, and our question would be, as you ask that question, which one? What would you really like to know when? Right now, just give me the answer. Let's just skip
Make
all
it easy on
let's
everybody.
just skip all this stuff in between. Let's just give me the answer, and then good, we're good. He said, no, it's walking with me. And we talked last time about intimacy, timing, step by step, discovering the truth. So after you write down what you know, you would say, what do we hear? What do we understand? And where should we go next to seek the answer? So it's called listen, watch, wait. What is God saying? What do we see or observe that happens and or is reinforced? And then we wait until we get clarity on that step, and then we go that way. So maybe you could describe briefly, you were looking at college. God says, I'm going to lead you to college. Your question, which one? How did you get to Emmanuel or Gordon? Because there's thousands of colleges in the United States. So
even just in the Northeast, there's so many.
so how did you even get to those two versus, well, let's just apply to 20?
Right.
How did you approach that?
So in the seeking process, there are tools that God gave us as well, that are not Christian tools per se, but they're tools. And one example is Naviance, is a database that the school uses that will help them match schools to their personality types and things like that. And so, Anna's guidance counselor took her through that process. She has known since she was, I think it's like second grade. I'd ask her to confirm that she has wanted to be a teacher. And that has been something that, rather than diminishing over the years, like all of my childhood ideas of what I wanted to be, and Dan used to want to be a stuntman, instead of those things,
I think he still is
away.
A stuntman
at times.
Yeah.
So, instead of that diminishing, he has only grown that passion in her and continued to gift her in that and to reveal more of that to her. and she's paid attention to that all along as well. And so that is another thing, okay, as we're looking at things just in that seeking, well, okay, we need to look at schools. If God continues to speak into you that he wants you in education, then schools with a good education program, that's going to narrow out a whole slew of things, so that narrows the field right there. And then
Okay,
as
now
we
stop
continue,
just one
go
second
ahead.
there is as you're seeking God's will, the beautiful thing about God's will is he relates it to truth.
Mm-hmm.
What's the truth that you know at the moment? Which then helps move and
Yes.
get you. And think about, when we look at God's will, we've got all these possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's got to start narrowing it so that you get to the right place by basically taking off the table, so to
Taking
speak,
some things off the table.
so
Yeah.
that no, it's not this way, it's this way. No, it's not this way, it's
Mm-hmm.
this way. So that as and this is what we have to trust and receive.
Mm-hmm.
So that Anna, I want to be a teacher in education.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, you can confirm, well, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So Anna, let's narrow the options to those schools that supply that
Right.
possibility to you. And it wasn't like, well, yeah, what, I mean, this is what happens in God's will. Well, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm
Mm-hmm.
supposed to do something else? What if, what if? And you never allow the truth to narrow it down. And this is an important thing. You trust God, just like we're talking about now. Yeah, you're getting narrowed down. Right now, you got two, and we'll talk about how you get there. But you got two, and you could say, well, I'm getting confirmed for one. So is that the one?
Mm-hmm.
Well, not necessarily, because why? Well, that the truth isn't known yet.
Right.
So you got to keep going, keep going, keep going until you absolutely know the truth. But you don't say, well, yeah, I'm down to two. Yeah, you know what? I probably should have applied to 10, so I'm going to go back up to the beginning and
Mm-hmm.
start all over again. He said, no, why are you doing that? Trust me. And by the way, honey, and this is what we trust God, is everything that you understood and believed was true, and you thought it was Gordon and Emmanuel,
Mm-hmm.
he could still say neither one of those.
Right. Right.
Um, because I use that truth to get you to there. And by the way, there's going to be a new truth that I'm about ready to show you next.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you trust it. And if God needs her to go somewhere else, he'll
He'll
get her
make
there.
that
He'll get her there.
happen.
And
Yes.
it's not about, did I miss it? Did I miss it? Oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
what happened? No, trust, trust, trust. And the way it works is that you trust what you now understand, i.e.,
Mm-hmm.
education. Okay, that narrowed it
Right.
down. Okay, what happened after that?
So after we, then we began really looking at some different schools, and we did go out of town too, and looked at some different education programs out of town. And as we're looking at those and processing through, when we're stepping foot on campus, does it feel like home? Could you see yourself here for the next 4 years? And, the questions that you ask, and just looking at the different programs. Yet, as we're doing that, there were more core values that I think God was really highlighting, not even so much school specific. And he did this actually with all three of my children in this process. Was don't even look so specifically at the school, as I want you to pay attention to what I'm showing you like and what you don't like. Do you like big schools? Is that a place that you feel comfortable? Do you feel more comfortable in a small classroom? And he literally would show them as we went on campuses, not even, okay, that's a school that is, is the best school of whatever. There was a college campus that Caleb went on to, very impressive, well-known academic school. And afterwards we're talking, and we're both like, okay, so what did God tell you? And basically Caleb said, I know I should be impressed on paper with this school, that should be everything that he's telling me lines up. And in my heart of hearts, I feel like that's not where my people are. And I'm like, what's so funny is when we sat in this this panel discussion with the students, what God told me in that same college visit was the people you're with are what's the most important thing. Don't pay attention to the academics. Look at the people.
Okay.
And so he told us both the same thing in that moment.
Yeah. So at that point, how many different schools were you looking at? Just or how many did you visit?
This was with Caleb. And at that point we had probably visited, I don't know, 5 or 6.
Yeah. Okay. So you're,
just having fun because we'll put them into vacations and go see something.
Yeah. So you've narrowed it down. Okay. There's 5 or 6 possibilities. And you're in the seeking mode. This is the seeking mode. And this is why you come back, by the way, and write it down in your journal. Is okay, we've narrowed it down to this because of a qualification. That's true. We're gonna go visit them. And you start to, first of all, let's discuss what is important for us.
Right.
And you start to understand that a little bit. And then you're starting to evaluate what you see based on that. 2 is that while you're doing it, that begins to clarify.
Yes.
And here's how you do it. As you're seeking, you're looking at what I call alternatives. It could be this. You personally get involved with that. Research, information, in this case, site visit, and you experience it. What you do on your way back or after you've done that is you talk about, well, what did I like about that? And what didn't I like about that, and why? And you then all of a sudden you start to see a pattern.
Right, and that narrows even.
That narrows it. It's about the people is just as important as the academic program, and you want a good academic program, so you've already sorted that out. Right. Now what the next thing is the people, and it's this and the culture and the dorm room, how does that look and feel, and what do the classes feel like, and and again, there's no system to that, so that literally somebody could say, I get excited because in this, I have some males particularly that I get excited at this campus, everything else being equal, at their football games. Right.
That's a big part of why Joshua landed at Baylor.
It really excites me to do that. See, and it's not a matter of, well, what's wrong with you and you shouldn't do that. It's like, that's part of who you are.
Yes.
And God is trying to move
and
you.
He can highlight that to you to move you to the right place. Yeah.
So as you're seeking, you're looking for, okay, what's the truth? What's the truth? What do I like? What do I don't like? What did I find out? Is this positive? Is this not? Is there something wrong here or not? And you're looking. And let me just highlight one verse, and then I'll have you continue the story. But go to James 1, 5-8, which is important in the process, which is what we're always doing. James 1, 5-8.
Sure. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith with no doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. For that person must not suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He's a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways.
Yeah. So as we've talked before, is as you're in that seeking mode, you are asking for wisdom. What's the truth? How do you want to line me up with where you're headed me? And I receive it and process it, and think of wisdom as information, understanding, but even further, what I call discernment, is that he'll show you, like, for example, you said, well, one of the things to come to a conclusion of God's will is the people. Well, if you're going to go visit that campus, what do you need? You need discernment. Okay, this is where God say, trust me. If this is one that I'd like you to pursue further. Remember, we haven't got the answer yet.
Right.
But I'm not going to take this one off.
How much do you stay in pursuit of something? Right.
I'm not taking this off the table, or I'm going to take it off the table. What does that require? God says, remember we said yesterday, I'm not going to bait and switch you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say, yeah, it feels really good. It seems good. Yes, it's good, but it's no good.
Right.
If it's no good and I need to take that off the table, I'll let you know through discernment, something will occur. This is listen, watch, wait. Something will occur. Some insight will happen, and you won't feel good about it. And you'll say, something's not right here. No, that didn't feel good to me. And you trust it. And God says, exactly, take it off the table. Now, other ones feel good. Now, it doesn't mean that's the answer yet, but yep, that's still on the table. You're seeking. And so you go from, well, is it meet this criteria? Now I start to realize, what is healthy. And this is why your journaling of each page is so critical, is what happened now? What happened now? What do you see now? What step do you need to take? Like you said, well, let's go visit them. That's it. Exactly. That's your next step. Go visit the schools, evaluate them, talk about them. What did you like? What didn't you like? What do you see? What do you understand? And then at the end of that period, you went from 5 or 6. What happened? How did you get it down to less?
Well, through that whole process, God continued to highlight. And so I'm going to actually jump off of Caleb's and come back to Anna's for a minute as we're coming back, if you don't mind, because I think it's a really cool, one of the things that he highlighted for Anna as well was community. Community is really big. And so we visited, we were down in, Nashville at Belmont. We, went to UNH, we've gone all over, and she did all these visits with her brothers too. So she knew Baylor well, and she knew Samford and Alabama and Auburn and all of these different schools. As the youngest, you get the privilege of seeing so many, So, but community was something that was spoken to her, that this is an important part of her life, is her community. And what's so funny is, even as we went to Emmanuel, for example, on a college visit, knowing that something, we know God has highlighted it, when we're on that campus, the number of people who didn't speak to other things, but spoke to her about the community. Like it was comical, honestly. Like, okay, there is affirmation in this, that community is a huge part of this, and even how their teaching program works, and that they're get them in the field from freshman year in groups together, in community together. They go to these different schools. And so that theme, that was something that God just continued to speak with her. And that helped to narrow in when we were on campuses where community was not felt or experienced in the same way. It was very easy then to say, this is a great school and that fits some people, but this isn't where God's leading you, because he's been speaking community.
Yeah, exactly. And and again, see, that's the spiritual wisdom, discernment that you're asking for, is I'm open to clarification, understanding, evaluation, that does this fit this or not, so that you didn't start out even saying, well, it's got to be X. It's that as you're processing, it's like, oh, for you, Anna, community is really important. Okay, now you spoke that to each other. And again, if you went back to your journal, so you would write that down. We've discovered, and now we know that his choice for this school is going to have to be based on education, community, this or that. And you've written it down. And now you've said, therefore, these still are on the list, and these other ones are not on the list. How did you do that? You did the seeking part.
Right.
You went and looked, well, okay, what's this really like? And then you received the truth of that, and you didn't second guess it. Right. So when it wasn't community, you could see it wasn't community. And remember,
it was very clear.
This is God's, you got to trust this. God's not going to bait and switch you. He's not going to make it fuzzy. It's not going to be, well, yeah, you guessed wrong. No, it's clear, clear, clear. And he said, no, you saw that that's not community that I have for you. And you literally say, great, that's off the list. And you don't second guess it. Well, what if, no, trust the process. So now you're down to 2. And when you talked yesterday about you're in the knocking mode, you don't yet know it. Okay, let's process that further. Go to 1 John 5, 14 to 15, and just reiterate a truth, and then we'll try to tie that together.
Okay. And this is the confidence that we have toward him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us in whatever we ask, we know that we have the request that we have asked of him.
Okay. So he says, you can pray according to my will, and when you do, it will be so. So you are in the process of having him reveal his will by definition. He said, I can't tell you, you got to pray according to my will, but I'm never going to tell you. Or you got to guess that. I hope you guess right.
Right.
In order for it to happen, you pray according to my will and keep processing with me until you absolutely know. And now you rejoice that it is so. So the beginning of that is lead me to your school. That's my will. Okay, stay with me, process with me. And I start to narrow it down to ultimately there'll be the door, which is where you're at right now.
Right.
Has to open. And then you know that that's my will. And then you confirm it by saying, God, now that I know that you want me to go to Emmanuel, let's say, and it could be Gordon, or by the way, you could even say
it could be something else.
You just ended both of those, so I got to go on a new path. What do you have to say to me now? I'll let me show you, and he will. So you pray, okay, I believe, and we'll talk about this next point. I now believe, based upon what I've experienced, researched, had you narrow down based on the truth. I kept writing. I see, and now it's Emmanuel. Okay. At that point, all of us, we've gone through that process. What do all of us really need? Well, we need confirmation.
Right.
Okay. So read Matthew 18 to 20. And then you can talk a little bit about what you will do when this finally comes together.
Right.
Matthew 18 to 20.
Truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Again, I say to you, if two of you agree on earth about anything they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am among them.
Yeah. So as you're working together, first of all, unity is at both levels, and let me try to explain that. You're seeking, and you're getting unity on truth, and therefore, what does this mean? So that as you're doing that with Anna, yes, I confirm in my spirit. Remember, it's not negotiation. It's not a, hey, that's a good idea. Yeah, sure. It's no, I really get yes in my spirit. So you say to Anna, you and Dan say, we confirm that you're receiving, that your place in school is going to be built around community.
Right. Which, by the way, means that if we're going to confirm in our spirit and not just give our opinion on it, we have to be asking as well. So it's everyone asking who is involved in that. Okay.
So talk about that just briefly, that it's not that all of our opinions line up.
Right.
It's that our spirit confirmation is there's a peace, there's a yes, there's a absolute got it. Or remember, he will, as he gets you wisdom, will trouble you and say, I don't really fully receive that yet. And it's not mean that don't trust that I think I know the answer. I'm just telling you, we don't know the answer yet.
Maybe not yet.
Let's keep going. But with Anna, you said, we confirm that. Okay, now when you confirm it, that helps narrow and move you toward the resolution, because you're confirming, yep, you're in the right spot. Yes, you're in the right path. Yes, take this step. And by the way, don't go backwards. Right. So don't say, well, yeah, but I can get a scholarship to this school, but it has no community.
Right.
God said, wait a minute, I thought we already settled that.
We already clarified that.
I thought we already clarified that, and you got confirmation on that. So stay with it and go forward. I'll deliver to you. This is the beauty of faith, by the way. And God's will is my answer is going to come based upon what you know to be true, and it's going to be spectacular.
Right.
Don't short circuit me and go a different direction because you look at a different thing that is the opposite of what I just told you. And that's why confirmation is important. So then you're going down the path. Okay, it's Gordon or Emmanuel right now. And let's say Emmanuel opens up as you've described it. And the answer is yes. And she says, I believe this is yes. You as her cohort, and you would do this as a couple, you could do this as a parent, you can do this as friends. And again, what I do with people is, particularly when I'm able to start with them at the beginning, is what's the issue? What do you know? Keep recording the steps so that as I process with you, I can see that, yep, you are absolutely down the right path, and now you're at the knocking stage,
right?
And you think, I think this door opened. And what you will do, and what I do, is you don't say, oh yeah, sure. You go to God one more time.
Right.
God, are we confirmed that this is absolutely the answer? Now, in this case with Anna, I believe he's already building that in, that I'm confirming by other methods and unity that will, if that door opens, that's the answer. And then you can confirm it in your spirit, and you know that you know that you know. And then he said, pray to me, and I'll make it happen.
Right. Well, and what's interesting, even we were talking with Anna about this because we, barring something absolutely completely unforeseen, she will get into both Gordon and Emmanuel. That's, statistically speaking, she will be admitted to both. We know because of the Gordon's format, we actually know what scholarship before she even applies, she'll have there. Emmanuel functions differently, so we don't know what merit scholarship she'll receive until we actually apply, and then they send the information to her on that. So one of the things she was asking a good question. She's like, so if I get into Emmanuel, but they don't give the amount of merit scholarship, does that mean it's off the table? And I said, no, that's just the next question we ask God is, okay, are you saying you're going to provide, or do you still want us going here? Is that closing the door? Is there a creative way you want to provide for that? I said, it doesn't end there. It's the next question. It's continuing to then seek, because he has laid out so many different things,
Yeah. And let's try to drive that home, and then we'll come back and talk about that specific thing.
Okay.
Go to Hebrews 2:1-4. That my will, remember, he says, I'm going to bear witness with the supernatural. And I'll answer your questions, because I'll be at work, and I'll show you confirmation with what I'm up to, that you'll know that you'll know that you know. So read Hebrews 2:1-4.
Sure. Therefore, we must pay closer attention to what we have heard, lest we drift away from it. For since the message declared by angels proved to be reliable, and every transgression or disobedience received a just retribution, how shall we escape if we neglect such a great salvation? It was declared at first by the Lord, and it was attested to by us, by those who heard, while God also bore witness by signs and wonders and various miracles, and by gifts of the Holy Spirit distributed according to his will.
Okay, now the last phrase is kind of important. According to his what?
According to his will.
His will. And remember, it's not a generic will. It's I'm going to bear witness with miracles, gifts of the Holy Spirit, signs and wonders, according to my will. For what? For you. It has to be. See, it's not generic. Yeah. He just doesn't say, well, I'm just out doing miracles. Isn't that nice? It's I'm doing them in the context of my will for you. So that and you properly understood something as you're processing with Anna is, well, if I get accepted, but I don't get all the financial support that you guys have said is kind of important, does that mean it's a no? Well, not yet.
Right.
Because why? You said it. What would you do then? You'd say, okay, we got accepted.
Right.
And now we have this financial piece left.
Right.
So
then it's just the next question. What do you have to say about this, God?
Okay.
This is where we're at. So what do you have to say now?
Okay. Why? Well, because the door isn't fully open yet.
Right.
And
not fully closed.
It's not closed. It's just, okay, go pursue me. And this is what's the really cool part of it is don't ask what I call binary questions, and don't ask, I'm going to give you a list and you pick which one you want. So you could look at it and say, God, are you going to provide a scholarship or not? That's a binary question. Right. Or there's 10 scholarships that I could get. Which of these are you going to give me? And God, in both cases, said, you kind of asked the wrong question. Right. Because, and again, he says, keep it simple and keep it pure. At that point, you've been accepted, going to college costs money. What's your actual real question? How are we going to pay for this?
How's that going to happen?
Yeah. See, it's really simple. How are we going to pay for this? Don't say, well, I think I know the answer. It's got to be scholarship. Are you going to give me a scholarship or not?
That's good.
No. How am I going to pay for this? And then you would go to God and say, what do you have to say about this? And if this is your will, then you're going to answer that question. Right. And by the way, see, and the question could say,
and he can be very creative in how he answers that.
He could say, well, it has, no, it's not going to be a scholarship at all. It's going to be, I'm going to bless Dan in his business. I'm going to bless an investment that you made. Right. I'm going to have somebody step up and assist you. We don't know. Right. But if you ask a binary question, you've limited the answer to this. And this is the same thing that Joshua, remember we went through Joshua? Yeah. And he said, are you for me or for them? Right. What was Jesus' answer?
No.
No, because
neither.
Because you're putting me in a box and you're trying to present to me, should I do A or B, as opposed to, well, I might have a completely different way of doing this. Get more pure with it. And that's why the pure question is always, now that we're here, right? We understand this next piece. What do you have to say about that? And then, and now, and what happens, and this is the beautiful thing, is God says, let me bear witness with a sign and wonder, with a miracle, with a, oh my gosh, look at what just happened, that I will do. We'll have a story tomorrow with Joel and Christina about their house, that God miraculously did it. Interesting enough, and I'll
beautiful story.
I'll preempt it a little bit, is that they were being told to, go to a house, make a deal. They made a deal and close it. And they didn't have the money for it. But God said, keep going. Now, he didn't say yet how I'm going to do it. He just said, keep going. Don't worry, I'll provide it. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then you'll see the answer tomorrow about that. But it was supernatural. Right. Absolutely. And what God is up to. So don't limit what God can do. Just take it step by step by step. Now what do you have to say? Now what do you have to say? And God says, I'm going to bear witness to fulfilling my will for you through signs and wonders and miracles. Right. And you'll see it. Spectacular things happen because he says, I can do that. That's why I'm inviting you to join me. Don't look at it as what do you do. Look at it as what instruction do I give you to join me in my work. And by the way, in the middle of that, it gives him glory. Yes. He is absolutely glorified in the midst of it. And it's beautiful to see. Yeah. Yeah. And so your whole story, by the way, when you share that, share the whole story. See that, and that's what helps people, because we tend to tell only the end. I'm going to Emmanuel and it's great, and God said go to Emmanuel. Okay, but when you share the entire thing, well, we started with this. And then we process this, and we process this, and we process this, and then it happened here, and this is what happened. And God confirmed it all, and it's spectacular. Then people can say, well, you mean, is that possible for me? And that's what we've been trying to say for the last couple months is, yes, it is. Yep. It's absolute. It's 100%. You can receive God's will. Put it through, ask, seek, and knock. Receive it, enjoy it, get confirmation. He says, I'll confirm it with another party that will help you know and enjoy the process. And again, if you have any, now we're into this series here, you can ask us a question. We're happy to, even if we get into the next series, we'll come back and talk about this. So if you got a question, you got something specific, how does this work for my will? I wonder about, send it in at questions@afjministry.com, questions@afjministry.com. By the way, we do have a course that's called Discerning God's Will. You can get into the depth of this through the course and the workbook. You can go to our website.
And you can do this in small groups.
Do this in small groups.
It's a video course, yeah.
Yep, at afjministry.com. Go to online school, and there's a course called Discerning God's Will. And again, we urge people to, which is why Kathy and I have done this, we urge you to learn to abide and hear God's voice so you can go into the other ones. But we're excited about it, and we hope you've had a great time with this. We've had a great time at this. And this
is so
it's
good.
been fun. It's been kind of fun to set this thing about with Anna up, and as it happens, share with us how did it go to where God opened, closed, and performed what he's going to do. And the excitement, is it's going to happen.
Right.
He'll have the exact right one. And isn't this going to be exciting? I don't have to say I want, and I'm going to be disappointed if I don't get. Rather, I can hardly wait to see where God leads me. And I'm getting close, and it'll be fun to have him finish that off. And so we'll be excited.
Well, I'll just add, again, from a 17-year-old perspective, to see as she's doing this, there is a sense of peace and joy and anticipation, which a lot of people who don't understand really seeking God's will and his affirmation don't enter their senior year with that perspective. And so it's such a blessing to be able to go to him and know and trust that he's going to lead and he will reveal his will. And I know, where Anna may have lots of other things she's stressed about, this isn't one. She's fully trusting that he's going to lead her and that what he has for her is best, none better. And she wants to step into that. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
And it's available to us all.
Right. And we're going to actually start another series next Monday, about how do we handle and overcome fear, anxiety, oppression, heaviness, which is characteristic of the world, which is a lot of it's born out of fear that I probably am going to make a mistake, and it's going to be so difficult to figure this out, and I tend to make the wrong choices. Can I really know it? So that's going to be part of it. We'll refer back to this aspect of discerning God's will, which is going to be critical as we learn, God's resolution to that. So we'll pick that up. Tomorrow is
I'm looking forward to that.
Tomorrow is guest day with Christina and Joel Gunn out of San Antonio. We do End Times Friday. We're going to we're moving into the Rapture, and then and the next one after that. So we'll be having some fun with that. And Kathy, it's been a blast, and look forward to what God has next.
Looking forward to it very much. Thanks so much. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and looking forward to spending time with you later this week.
Yeah. Thanks. See you soon.
Have a great day.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Come and See, your podcast for truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. Send us your questions and comments, and tune in tomorrow for more answers to your personal questions about living life in God's truth. Remember, God's will is best and none better. His truth brings peace in this world of chaos.